In the scorching heart of the Wild West, where dust storms danced across endless plains and the sun burned mercilessly against leather hats and cracked earth, there rode a cowboy named Samuel Hart, known among drifting towns and lonely ranches as a man of quiet strength and loyalty deeper than the canyon walls themselves. Yet what defined him more than his steady hand on a revolver or his skill with cattle was his bond with his horse, a proud and faithful steed named Shadow, black as midnight, fierce as the wind, yet gentle as a river under moonlight, the kind of horse that would ride through fire for his master, the kind of companion who shared every sunrise and every bitter night under the blanket of stars, and together they carved trails across the wild land, facing bandits, rustlers, storms, and silence, until one day fate struck its cruelest chord, testing Samuel's soul like never before. For it was on a lonely stretch of prairie, golden with tall grass swaying like an ocean of whispers, when Samuel and Shadow paused for water by a narrow stream cutting through rocks, and there beneath a twisted tree lay the slithering form of a rattlesnake, its rattle silent but its fangs sharp with venom drawn from the earth, and before Samuel could react, before his pistol could clear leather, the snake struck, coiling like lightning and biting deep into Shadow's front leg, and the sound that escaped the mighty horse was not a neigh of strength but a cry of pain that shattered the cowboy's heart, a cry so human in its suffering that Samuel fell to his knees beside his companion, his hands trembling as he tried to stop the swelling, tried to comfort the animal that had carried him through storms and danger, whispering, "Hold on, boy, hold on, don't you leave me, not like this," tears streaming down cheeks sunburned and roughened by years of grit, for cowboys weren't supposed to cry, but Samuel's heart was breaking, his chest tight with helplessness, because in the Wild West a snake bite often meant death, and death meant losing the only soul that had never betrayed him, never lied, never turned its back, and so Samuel cried like a child in the dust, his tears mixing with the dry earth, praying to the heavens, cursing the land, until a soft but firm voice cut through his grief, a voice that carried both mystery and strength, and when Samuel looked up he saw her, an Apache woman, tall and graceful with braids flowing down her shoulders and eyes dark as the deepest well, wearing beads that caught the sunlight and carrying the calmness of the earth itself, and she spoke with certainty, saying, "Do not let the tears blind you, cowboy. The horse can still be saved if you trust me," and Samuel, though half broken and half wary, knew that this was no ordinary encounter, for the Apache were keepers of secrets older than the mountains, guardians of healing passed down through generations, and though he had heard tales both of war and of wisdom, in that moment he clung to the hope her words carried like a man drowning clings to driftwood, and so he begged her, voice raw, "Please, save him. I'll do anything, just don't let him die," and she nodded, kneeling beside the horse, placing her hands on Shadow's trembling body with reverence, whispering words in her native tongue, calling upon spirits of nature, upon ancestors who walked these plains long before iron horses and guns scarred them, and as Samuel watched her work with herbs pulled from a small pouch, crushing them into a paste and pressing them against the wound, he felt a strange calmness creep into his chest, as though the earth itself was listening, as though unseen forces were answering her call, yet doubt still gnawed at him, for the poison of a rattlesnake was deadly, and no tears or prayers could always stop it, and still the horse groaned, still the swelling grew, still Shadow's breath came heavy like thunderclouds, but the Apache woman did not falter, her voice steady, her hands sure, telling Samuel, "Strength is not only in the gun, cowboy, nor in the fist. True strength is in love and patience. If you love this horse, then lend him your strength now. Do not cry for what may be lost, fight for what can be saved," and those words pierced Samuel's heart sharper than any arrow, for all his life he had fought battles with bullets and rope, never realizing that the greatest battle was within himself, to hold on when everything seemed lost, to believe when despair screamed otherwise, and so he wiped his tears, clenched his jaw, and pressed his hands gently over Shadow's mane, whispering steady words of comfort, pouring his soul into his companion. As if his love itself could push back death, and for hours that felt like eternity, under the blazing sun and the endless sky, man, woman, and horse struggled against fate, locked in a dance between life and death, until at last Shadow's breathing eased, the swelling slowed, and a flicker of strength returned to his dark eyes, and Samuel, exhausted yet trembling with relief, looked to the Apache woman with gratitude so deep he could not speak, only bow his head and whisper, "Thank you, though." The words felt far too small for what she had given him, for she had not only saved his horse but reminded him of the power of hope, and as Shadow rested, Samuel turned to the woman and asked her name, but she only smiled faintly and said, "Names are not as important as the lessons you carry, cowboy. Remember this, the land gives and the land takes, but love. Love can heal even the deepest wounds," and with that she rose, walking away toward the horizon where the setting sun painted the world in fire, leaving Samuel holding the reins of his faithful horse, his eyes still wet but now burning with a new fire, a fire of resolve, of gratitude, of understanding, for the West was cruel, yes, but it also held miracles, and sometimes salvation came from the most unexpected places. And as Samuel mounted Shadow, who stood proudly despite his pain, he rode on into the twilight, his heart whispering a vow to never forget the lesson the Apache woman had given him, a vow that echoed louder than gunfire in his soul. And to you, dear listener, riding along with this tale, remember this too, that even in your darkest moments, when hope feels like a dying ember, there is always a chance for light, always a reason to keep fighting, so don't give up, don't let despair take you. For miracles often come when you least expect them, just as they did for Samuel and Shadow. And if you wish to keep hearing tales like these, stories of the Wild West where courage, love, and fate collide, then ride with us further, subscribe to this channel, and be part of this journey, because every tale is another campfire, every campfire another spark of hope, and together we will keep these flames burning bright.